So, HBO's The Penguin just wrapped up, and it was incredible. The performances were fantastic, specifically Colin Farrell's Oz and Cristin Millioti's Sofia Falcone. It let us really dive deep into the world of Matt Reeves' The Batman and the underground crime rings of Gotham. And it added a whole new layer of depth to this character of the Penguin that wouldn't be possible within the runtime of a single movie. And so it got me thinking, what other characters from not only Batman's rogues, but also the greater DC universe as a whole could get the same treatment? A solo, prestige TV series that leans into the world and the genre and develops these antagonists in ways that a movie wouldn't be able to do. And so here are some villains that deserve the Penguin treatment. Starting with a little indie character called the Joker. All right, picture this. He's a clown, but he's really got a bone to pick with society. I'm telling you, I think we're sitting on a gold mine here. This video does not have spoilers for Penguin, by the way, so if you haven't seen it, don't worry about that. A guy like the Penguin has to do a lot of his business in straight cash, and just carrying that around all day right out in the open is just begging for a disaster or some back pain, whichever comes first, I guess. Which is why this video is brought to you by Ridge. Ridge is making everyday carry easier with their wallets and key cases, letting you keep all your necessities without any of the bulk. Their wallets come in over 50 styles with premium materials like leather, stainless steel, and even titanium. They're fully customizable with accessories like AirTag holders and cash straps and even swappable outer plates. They can hold up to 12 cards and are fully RFID blocking to keep your information safe and secure, all in one streamlined package. They sent me their burnt titanium collection, which I think is just gorgeous, and they also sent me the key case to match, which holds up to 6 keys all in one slim package. With the holidays right around the corner, I normally struggle with picking out gifts for someone like my dad, who is notoriously difficult to shop for, but Ridge is making it easy this year with up to 47% off some of your favorite items on their website. Whether it's for a loved one or just to treat yourself, this sale is the perfect opportunity to upgrade your everyday carry. Check the link down in the description to get up to 47% off your Ridge wallet and accessories right in time for the holidays. Thanks so much to Ridge for sponsoring this video, and thanks to my patrons who are able to get all my videos early and ad-free for just $1 a month. The first character I want to see get the Penguin treatment is Two-Face. Harvey Dent first appeared in Detective Comics number 66 from 1942 by Bill Finger and Bob Kane. Technically, he was Harvey Kent, and then later on they were like, oh, that's too similar to Superman, so they changed it to Dent. It's still the same guy. Golden Age is weird. Don't worry about it. Originally Gotham's district attorney, Harvey Dent had acid thrown at him during a trial, burning one side of his face and fracturing his psyche into the dual identity of Two-Face. I feel like a Two-Face show basically writes itself. You could base it off the upcoming Two-Face solo comic by Christian Ward and Fabio Veras, which looks incredible, or it could be a legal drama with each episode being a different case to dive into Gotham's crime world a bit more. I totally see Harvey making an appearance in the Batman Part 2 in some fashion, and so depending on when this would take place, and if Harvey's already been burned in that universe, we could flash back and forth to Harvey before and after the incident, and show all the things that led to it that we otherwise wouldn't be able to in a Batman movie. My biggest problem with Two-Face adaptations is that they always portray his turn as if it's just a snap. He's this great upstanding citizen, and then on a dime, no pun intended, he becomes a crazed murderer who's obsessed with the number 2. And so instead, I'd want a series to showcase that it wasn't just the incident that turned him into Two-Face, but it was instead a catalyst in a whole myriad of other mental health issues and trauma and his own stubbornness to get proper treatment. And so by the time it starts to become noticeable to others, it's already too late. One of my favorite new additions to the Two-Face character, and something that I'd love to see get adapted in some way, is the idea that Harvey's condition has ebbs and flows. Some days the Two-Face persona has more control, and that's when he's more violent and hurts people, but then other days Harvey has more control, and they have entirely different memories and keep things from each other. And so what Harvey started doing is when he feels that violent side start to come out more, he'll do something non-violent to try to get Batman's attention, like rob a bank of all its $2 bills or steal a giant penny. Something to get himself put behind bars, at least for a little while, so that the more dangerous side of him isn't able to hurt as many people. Not only is it a fun way to keep all the Silver Age silly stuff canon, but it's also a bit more of a nuanced look at Harvey's relationship with Two-Face that I really like, making every single decision be a part of an ongoing fight with his other half and showing that Harvey deep down is still the same person he used to be. That idea was introduced in All-Star Batman by Scott Snyder and John Romita Jr. from 2016. Not to be confused with All-Star Batman and Robin from 2005, which is a very different book. I'm telling you this for your own good. Do not get those books mixed up. One is much, much better than the other. The next character I want to see get the Penguin treatment is the Ventriloquist. Arnold Wesker first appeared in Detective Comics number 583 from 1988 by Alan Grant, John Wagner, and Norm Breyfogle. Wesker is a quiet and timid man using a ventriloquist dummy named Scarface to commit his crimes, and he's convinced that the puppet is actually the one controlling him, not the other way around. I think my favorite thing about the Ventriloquist character is the dynamic between Wesker and Scarface, and the constant uncertainty about what's real and what's not. Every time you think that it's actually Wesker's delusions, something happens and you start to doubt yourself and think that the the puppet is actually in control, and leaving that mystery unanswered and always having that question hanging in the air. It's a character that's so fascinating and fun to watch, and it's a shame that he hasn't been given the spotlight. I've been playing that new VR Arkham Shadow game, and I've been having a really good time with it. It's honestly becoming one of my favorite new Batman stories. And one little bit that I've been enjoying is that Wesker has been this recurring minor role throughout the story. You're introduced to him early on, and over time, you start to see his relationship with this doll start to form. And all the while, you're questioning whether or not the dummy is truly alive. I remember in that original VR Batman game, you could find Scarface sitting in a cell by himself, and then every time you looked in, he'd be in a different position, which was a really creepy moment, don't get me wrong, but I think the act of not knowing and the mystery of it is what makes the dynamic and the characters so fun. I know that there was that Arkham Asylum TV show that was originally going to be in the Matt Reeves universe, and then it was going to be a part of the DCU, and now I'm pretty sure it got scrapped. I'm not exactly sure what that show was going to be, but I think you could take aspects of it and make Wesker a central protagonist, not only showing his relationship with Scarface in that story, but also a greater narrative about the asylum and the treatment of its patients. Especially after how Arkham was portrayed in the Penguin, I think that that's a whole world that could easily be explored through this character. Or you could just do what the Batman 2004 show did and have Scarface turn into a big giant robot to fight. That works too, I guess. I don't care, I still love that fucking show. The next character that could use a Penguin style show is Poison Ivy. Pamela Isley first appeared in Batman number 181 by Robert Kanigher and Sheldon Moodoff from 1966. Her last big live action adaptation was in Batman and Robin from 1997, which, just like everything else in that movie, leaned more into the campiness and the hypereroticism of the character. But I think the series could be the perfect opportunity to showcase her depth and her nuance that makes her so special. Ivy, and honestly pretty much all of Batman's female rogues gallery now that I think about it, has been portrayed as a lot more of an anti-hero lately as opposed to a full-on villain, which makes sense. I mean, it's becoming increasingly more and more difficult to frame someone who wants to protect plant life as the evil one, but part of me kind of misses when Poison Ivy was a clearer villain figure, and I want her to be scary again, to blur those lines between good intentions and violent outbursts, like Sofia Falcone in The Penguin. While it would have been cool to see her look like her comic counterpart, the literal gigante that she is, I've been a fan of Cristin Millioti for years, and she was phenomenal. Her backstory was so tragic, and we could see that she genuinely did deserve to take back what was honestly rightfully hers, but she was still this terrifying presence that you never really knew if you could trust, and her methods got scarier and scarier. And she was honestly the best part of an already amazing show. And so I would want Ivy to be given a similar treatment. The show could be about Pamela as this young and optimistic scientist who wants to save the world, but over time she gets beaten down and jaded by the harsh realities of climate change and the destruction of the planet, as well as the people who are doing nothing to try and stop it, and so her methods get increasingly more and more ruthless. And if we end up getting this far, I'd love to see some of her relationship with Harley Quinn, either if they bring back Margot Robbie for the DCU, or have it as a part of the grounded, realistic take from the Batman universe. I kind of flamed the Penguin early on for changing the character's name from Oswald Cobblepot to Oswald Cobb for quote-unquote realism, and while it didn't really end up being a problem for the show, I think they only said it like 3 times in the entire runtime. I still think it's a weird decision, and for a character like Poison Ivy, it wouldn't do her justice to lean into the grounded take, and instead I want to focus more on the fantastical and even the horror aspects, like in G. Willow Wilson and Marcio Takara's current run from 2022. This has been one of the best DC books in years. It was originally a miniseries that was so good it got extended to an ongoing, and I'm honestly surprised that it's still going as strong as it is. Most big 2 comics, they get like a year, like one year, 12 issues, and then editorial gets a hold of them and either changes it or cancels the book. The book is really leaning into the supernatural and the body horror, which is a super interesting take for the character. And if any of that could get translated to a series, that could be a ton of fun. The next character I want to see get the Penguin treatment is Lex Luthor. Lex first appeared in Action Comics number 23 by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. The evil billionaire turned supervillain turned bald billionaire turned president turned supervillain turned superhero for a little while turned back to evil billionaire. I am a diehard Superman fan, and Lex Luthor is one of my favorite villains in all of comics, but aside from animation and being played by yikes, hasn't really been done justice in live action. Even the Richard Donner Superman with Gene Hackman, which are movies that I love and grew up on, isn't exactly the pitch perfect depiction of Lex Luthor that the character deserves, which is part of why I'm so excited to see Nicholas Holt's portrayal in James Gunn's Superman next year. In a series to give him more screen time and development could be exactly what the character's been needing all these years. One of my favorite aspects of the Penguin show was just how hateable it made Oz. At the start, he's portrayed as this guy who wants to be seen as a hero to the people and to the working class that he grew up with. But over the course of the show and the story, we start to see more and more that all of it is a facade. Literally every single word that comes out of this guy's mouth is a lie. Even the things that we assume to be truthful, we later find out are just absolute bullshit. And that the Penguin is a genuinely despicable, horrible person. and it's so much fun. Like, genuinely, after that last episode, this man needs to get the shit kicked out of him by Batman. Normally, I don't go for that sort of thing, and I prefer Batman to be a little bit more hopeful and empathetic. But no, he deserves it at this point. If you've seen the last episode, you know what I'm fucking talking about. And I think it'd be really fun to do something similar with Lex. Showcase just how much of a liar and a scumbag he is. How he'll do anything and screw over anyone if it means satisfying his massive ego. How his hatred of Superman at first seems like this honest frustration of a man who had to earn his success. But over time, we realize it's all bullshit and he's just a spoiled rich kid with daddy issues who's mad that he's not getting the spotlight anymore. My favorite depiction of the character is Michael Rosenbaum's portrayal from Smallville, which put a lot of emphasis on his relationship with Clark, and their growth was a huge part of what made that show so special. I'm not sure what direction James Gunn is planning on going, but I would love to see a show that's similar to Penguin in his rise to power. But instead of rising through the seedy underbelly and the crime world of Gotham City, it's the high-class bureaucracy of Metropolis, and even him running for president. Although I do think it would be pretty unrealistic that the American people would willingly vote for a convicted felon to be president, especially if he was like, I don't know, a well-documented narcissistic maniac. I think that might be a bit too much of a stretch of the imagination. Right, chat? Right, chat? Right, chat? If you made it this far into the video and you're mad at me for that joke, I don't know what to tell you, brother. At a certain point, I feel like it's on you. And the last character who I want to see get the Penguin treatment is not a character, but characters, and that's the Rogues. The Rogues first appeared in The Flash number 155 by John Broome and Carmine Infantino as a team of Flash villains like Captain Cold, Mirror Master, Heatwave, among others, and they're one of the most prominent villain teams in all of DC Comics. Despite there being a 9-year-long Flash TV show and a $300 million movie, the Rogues have never really been put at the forefront. That's honestly probably the biggest sin of the CW series. Okay, second biggest sin. Okay, third biggest sin. Okay, fourth. Ah, Jesus fucking Christ. One of the more noticeable absences from the Penguin was that there was essentially zero mention of Batman himself. I don't want to see the Caped Crusader show up as like a cameo and steal the entire spotlight or anything. I definitely preferred that Oz and the rest of those characters were given the time to shine, and so it wasn't a deal breaker by any means and was never like a reason I was watching the show. But especially after how the first movie opened and how perfectly they showcased what Batman's presence means and how he's felt by the criminals of Gotham, it felt like a missed opportunity to not have at least some mention of people being scared of him. Like, everybody should have been a little bit more scared of the dark or looking over their shoulder all the time while doing shady stuff and saying things like, but what about the friggin' bad? And so I think it would be really fun if a Rogues show leaned into that. The Flash is so fast and can just pop up out of nowhere at any instant, and so there should be this constant fear and pressure that he could be around any corner. Maybe it could be like an Ocean's 11 type of heist show. We see the origins of this team and their beef with the Flash as they try to steal some diamond or artifact or something without him knowing. Fuck it, maybe instead of dealing with the Flash, they accidentally screw up and get on the bad side of Reverse Flash, which was one of my favorite parts about Legends of Tomorrow. But I think I just want to see more Reverse Flash. That's probably more of a me thing. Give him a Penguin show. Wait, why didn't I put him on the list? If they wanted to go a bit more serious with it, like Penguin, they could base it off of Rogues by Joshua Williamson and Leo Max from 2022. This was a Black Label book, which is DC's prestige line of comics. Basically, they can say bad words and charge you twice the price for a book that's way too big to fit on a shelf. One of them showed off Batman's Robin, if you know what I'm saying, but DC chickened out and censored it for later printings. But anyway, that is not relevant. The Rogues comic was really cool. It was just 4 issues long, and it was about an aging Captain Cold reuniting the Rogues for one last heist in Gorilla City. Or they could take a bit of inspiration from Forever Evil by Jeff Johns and David Finch from 2013, which is probably the last good event story for modern comics, and I'm not scared to admit that. Like, Metal, I guess, was cool. I guess Metal was the last one. That book had a lot of really great scenes from the Rogues, and specifically Captain Cold, with the crime syndicate from Earth 3 taking over the world and forcing the villains to step up and fight back. Where the Penguin showed that Oz was a genuinely despicable person who deserves everything that's coming to him, a Rogues show should ideally do the opposite. One of the most important characteristics about this team is that they're a group of criminals with a code. They even have kind of a pact with the Flash himself. Their heists are clean. They don't terrorize the public, they don't betray each other, and they don't hurt civilians. And they take that code very seriously. They're the living embodiment of honor among thieves, and it's why I think they've held the test of time and are so beloved despite not being as well known. While we don't really know what's going on with the Flash character post Ezra Miller, a Rogues show has actually been rumored for a while, as far back as last year. I don't usually trust rumors until they come from the big guy himself. James Gunn is the big, not God. Would be really funny if God was confirming like my time to shine rumors. But something like this could be really fun and dive into the world of the Flash and that mythos without oversaturating the character with a third solo project in a row. One of the biggest things that I want people to take away from the Penguin show is that it was good not just because it was about a supervillain. I mean, if that were the case, Morbius would have won an Oscar and Craven would be everybody's most anticipated movie of the year. The studios and the suits like to think in terms of IP and branding and not in quality and creativity. They think something succeeds not because of the artists and the people who made it successful, successful, but because of the label that was attached to it, when I think that's a fundamentally wrong way to look at these stories and these characters. I say this all the time, but based on a comic book is not a genre. Noir is a genre, horror is a genre, heist is a genre. And all of those genres and all the things that make these kinds of stories special can be applied to comic book characters and comic book properties. And I think the biggest strength of the Penguin was how hard it leaned into the genre storytelling and was given a genuine chance outside of the Batman IP, which is what makes it fun to think about other characters getting a similar treatment. It didn't rely on the superhero stuff or the suits or cameos to get people watching. It trusted its story and its audience to care enough to tune in every week. It knew that by taking this character and this world seriously and giving that extra level of care and prestige instead of pumping out content for the content block, it could be something special. And so it ended up taking this guy who was originally just a bit side character from the first movie and used it to explore that world even more and turned him into a compelling and nuanced character that deserves to get all of his bones broken by Batman. Seriously, Robert Pattinson, I want to see you beat the shit out of this guy. It's okay, we give you permission. But what did you think about the Penguin, and what are some villains you want to see get the same kind of treatment? If you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Special thanks to Elijah Wakefield and Axu, Cabbage Boy, Cassidy, Carol Ann Brenneman, Chicken McDoofus, Dan, Danny Boy, Eden Kenna, Egan McFarlane, Evan Bowers, Fastest Man Dead, Finn Yates, Hannah C, Harper Sires, Howard Bell, If You Know You Know, Iron Ninja, Jake Stellig, Kai Dud, Ken, Leo Streamer, Melody Dreamer, Glassbear Productions, Morpy, Murno9, Popcorn Eater 123, Raptor 77, Ryan Archuleta, Sav, Sherbet, Spectacular Clyde, TDW Fan, Theo Crouch, Tim Neufeld, Troy Spy Rager is lame, Tyler Goodrich, and Yash Kapoor for being spectacular fanboys on my Patreon. This has been Troy Boy 17. Be responsible, stay safe, and I'll see you around.